In every missing children case, the voices of the family matter. They can bring comfort, fuel public attention, and shape how the world understands the search. But in the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, those voices are not united. They are divided. Their grandmother, Belinda Gray, has begged the world to keep talking, no matter what, insisting that silence is the greatest danger. Their stepfather, Daniel Martell, shocked many with a bold claim that cadaver dogs will find nothing, a statement that sparked outrage and suspicion. And their mother, Malehya Brooks-Murray, has remained largely silent, leaving the public to wonder what that silence means. Together, these contrasting responses paint a portrait of a family fractured by grief, suspicion, and fear. Tonight, we examine how silence and voices collide in the Sullivan family, and what this division means for the search for two missing children in Nova Scotia. When children go missing, the parents' voices are often the loudest. They stand before cameras, make emotional pleas, and beg the public for help. In many of the world's most infamous missing children cases, it is the parents' words that define the story, their tears, their appeals, their relentless demand for answers. But in the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, something is different. Their mother, Malehya Brooks-Murray, has remained almost entirely silent. This silence has become one of the most striking aspects of the case. For some, it is understandable. Grief can paralyze, trauma can make public speaking unbearable, and not every parent is capable of turning private pain into a public campaign. For others, the silence is troubling, a vacuum that fuels speculation. Why has she not spoken more? Why has she not stood in front of the cameras like so many other parents have done before her? In the absence of her voice, the public has been left to interpret her silence, and interpretations vary widely. Court documents have revealed that Malehya was questioned, that she took a polygraph test, and that her home was searched. But none of that has translated into public statements or open engagement. While her children's faces circulate on posters, YouTube channels, and nightly newscasts, she herself has rarely stepped forward. To many, this creates an unsettling contrast with the raw, outspoken determination of her mother-in-law, Belinda Gray. Belinda has embraced visibility at all costs, willingly enduring rumors and speculation because she believes silence is the true enemy. Malehya, by contrast, has retreated into silence, avoiding the spotlight, perhaps as a way of shielding herself from scrutiny. This divergence has divided opinion. Some say her silence is the natural reaction of a mother overwhelmed by tragedy. Others see it as avoidance, a refusal to participate in the search for answers with the urgency that the situation demands. Part of the complexity lies in the fact that silence itself can mean many things. Silence can be grief. Silence can be fear. Silence can be guilt. Or silence can simply be exhaustion. The inability to face a world that watches, judges, and speculates endlessly. For Malehya, silence may be a shield against the harsh judgment of strangers who dissect her every move online. It may also reflect a desire to keep her pain private, to grieve without performance. But in the arena of public opinion, silence rarely protects. Instead, it often creates suspicion. The public has grown accustomed to parents who plead directly into cameras. When that template is broken, people notice. And in this case, with Daniel Martell offering statements that many find disturbing, Malehya's silence only deepens the void. It leaves the grandmother as the dominant family voice, a grandmother who insists that more talking, more noise, is the only way forward. The contrast could not be sharper. One family member choosing silence, another demanding noise, and a third casting doubt on cadaver dogs. This family divide has become part of the case itself. True crime communities online dissect not only the evidence, but also the behavior of the family members. Belinda's bold words are replayed, Daniel's controversial claim is debated, and Malehya's silence is scrutinized. the family dynamic has become almost as important in the public imagination as the physical search for the children. And for better or worse, the mother's quiet has allowed others' voices to define the narrative. It is important to acknowledge, however, that silence should not automatically be read as guilt or indifference. Trauma expresses itself differently in every person. Some fight, some collapse, some withdraw. The absence of public statements does not mean the absence of private anguish. But in the harsh glare of a case like this, where millions of eyes are watching, silence takes on a life of its own. It becomes a canvas onto which the public paints its own theories. For the investigators, what matters is not whether a mother speaks to the media, but whether she cooperates behind closed doors. Court filings suggest she has. Yet for the public, cooperation in private is not visible. What is visible is the grandmother's defiance, the stepfather's controversial words, and the mother's quiet. And visibility shapes perception. This is the tragedy of silence in cases of missing children. It rarely protects the person who chooses it. Instead, it invites speculation, fills forums with theories, and amplifies the voices of others. In the Sullivan case, it has left Belinda to carry the banner of public advocacy almost alone, while Daniel has carved out his own role through a single startling statement. Malehya, meanwhile, remains a mystery, a mother who has lost 2 children, and yet has not spoken loudly to demand their return. Whether her silence is strength, grief, or something else entirely, it has defined her role in the case. And as the months pass without resolution, the divide between those who speak and those who do not only grows wider. A family united by tragedy, but divided by voice. If the mother's silence has cast a shadow of uncertainty over the Sullivan case, the grandmother's voice has cut through that silence with defiance. Belinda Gray has not hidden. She has not stepped back. Instead, she has placed herself squarely in the storm, repeating again and again that the world must keep talking about her grandchildren. For her, silence is more dangerous than rumor, more destructive than speculation, and more unbearable than criticism. Her words shocked many across Canada. I don't care if it's true or not. I don't care who says it. As long as people are still talking about Jack and Lily, that's what matters. It is rare to hear such blunt acceptance of misinformation from a family member, but Belinda's meaning is clear. She is not celebrating lies, she is rejecting invisibility. For her, every mention of the children's names, no matter the context, is a small act of defiance against time and indifference. Belinda has become a constant presence in the digital world where Lily and Jack's story continues to live. She tunes into live streams hosted by strangers, follows more than 10 different true crime channels, and joins communities of people she has never met in person. Night after night, she listens as others debate, speculate, and sometimes distort the truth. It hurts her, of course, but she endures the hurt because each broadcast keeps the children's names alive. Each discussion pushes their story one step further into the public conscience. This makes Belinda not just a grieving grandmother, but a guardian of memory. While the mother withdraws, Belinda advances. While others keep their pain private, she lays hers bare before thousands of strangers. She has transformed her grief into persistence, determined to ensure that Lily and Jack are not lost to silence. In her mind, silence is not dignity, it is death. And she will not let it take them a second time. The difference between Belinda and Malehya is stark. One embodies voice, the other embodies silence. One measures success by visibility, the other by absence from the public eye. This divergence has created a split, not only in the family, but also in public perception. Many admire Belinda's courage, seeing her as the fighter who keeps the children's memory alive. Others worry her embrace of speculation could distract investigators. But whatever the judgment, no one can deny that she has kept the case alive in ways that silence never could. Her approach has also changed the nature of the investigation in the public's eyes. Sergeant Chris Marshall of the RCMP admitted that some of the 800 tips they've followed came directly from true crime shows. That fact alone validates Belinda's instinct. Noise can lead to results. Yet police also warn that false tips waste time, draining resources from real leads. Belinda knows this, but she accepts the trade-off. For her, the risk of wasted time is worth it if it means the children are still remembered. Her stance is controversial, but it resonates. In a digital world where stories fade overnight, Belinda has chosen to fight the algorithm with sheer persistence. She knows that if people stop speaking the names Lilly and Jack, the urgency dies, and with urgency gone, hope fades. That is why she embraces voices of all kinds, respectful or reckless, accurate or inaccurate. What matters is not the precision of the words, but the fact that the names are still spoken. It is also why Belinda's presence has become symbolic. She represents the fight against forgetting, the refusal to let missing children slip away into the void. She is the counterweight to her daughter-in-law's silence, the balancing voice that keeps the story in motion. Without her, it is possible the case would have already lost momentum. With her, it continues to stir debates, attract coverage, and fuel speculation. Her determination carries a cost. Belinda has had to watch as strangers point fingers at her family, invent theories, and sometimes accuse loved ones unjustly. She has had to sit through conversations that wound her, knowing she cannot control them. But she accepts these wounds as the price of keeping the children visible. Silence would hurt more, she insists. Silence would erase them. This is why Belinda stands out so sharply in this divided family. While others retreat, she steps forward. While others hold their tongues, she demands attention. She has become the loudest, most consistent voice in a case defined by contradictions. And in doing so, she has made herself a symbol of the fight against silence, a grandmother unwilling to let her grandchildren disappear from memory as well as from the world. If Belinda Gray embodies the refusal of silence, and if Malehya Brooks-Murray represents the weight of silence, then Daniel Martell sits in a space far more controversial. As the children's stepfather, he has been scrutinized from the beginning. Court filings reveal he took a polygraph, answered police questions, and lived inside the home from which Lilly and Jack disappeared. But what cemented his place in the public debate was not his actions behind closed doors. It was one statement he made in front of a camera: "Cadaver dogs will not find anything." Those 8 words turned a simmering curiosity about him into a storm of suspicion. Families of missing children usually welcome every investigative tool available. They plead for police to leave no stone unturned. To hear a stepfather dismiss the work of cadaver dogs so flatly was shocking. It sounded less like a wish for good news and more like a declaration of certainty. And in a case built on uncertainty, certainty is unsettling. Cadaver dogs are not ordinary animals. They are trained to detect the faintest scent of human remains, even years after death, even when buried deep underground. Their track record has solved cold cases and provided closure for grieving families worldwide. While they are not infallible, their reputation is strong enough that investigators deploy them as a matter of routine. For Daniel to predict they would find nothing was not just bold, it was baffling. Supporters of Daniel argue that he may have been misunderstood. Perhaps he was trying to project optimism, to insist that the children were still alive. Perhaps, in his frustration with constant speculation, he chose words that came out harsher than intended. But critics see something darker. They hear in his voice not optimism, but dismissal, as though he were shutting down one of the few tools that could provide real answers. Online, his words became fuel. True crime channels replayed the clip again and again. Comment sections lit up with accusations and theories. Some argued that no innocent stepfather would speak with such certainty. Others claimed he had revealed too much. that perhaps he knew something the rest of the world did not. Whether these interpretations are fair or not, they have defined the way Daniel is perceived. This perception has been intensified by his history. Documents mention his failed polygraph test, a detail that lingers in the public imagination. Combined with his cadaver dog comment, the narrative around him has hardened. To many, Daniel represents not just silence or voice, but defiance, a refusal to align himself with the search in the way the grandmother has, and a refusal to allow speculation in the way the mother has. He has carved out a third role, the voice that provokes, the voice that unsettles. Placed alongside Belinda and Malehya, the contrast is striking. Belinda embraces every voice, believing that repetition keeps the children alive. Malehya withdraws, allowing silence to shield her from judgment, though at the cost of public trust. Daniel, meanwhile, speaks selectively, and when he does, his words ignite suspicion. Together, they form a triangle of responses to tragedy: noise, silence, and controversy. This triangle has not gone unnoticed. Investigators, journalists, and the public all weigh the family's behavior as heavily as they weigh the facts of the case. In the absence of clear answers, people turn to behavior as clues. Belinda's persistence earns sympathy, Malehya's silence invites questions, and Daniel's certainty sparks outrage. Each role feeds into the broader narrative, shaping how strangers thousands of miles away interpret a mystery they cannot touch. For the RCMP, Daniel's statement may not carry evidentiary weight, but it has consequences. Public suspicion can distort tips, lead to false accusations, and deepen mistrust. Yet, in a case like this, where the children are still missing, perception often matters almost as much as evidence. The stepfather's words have become part of the story, replayed, debated, and remembered. They have joined Belinda's plea and Malehya's silence as symbols of a family divided. And perhaps that is what makes this case so haunting. The children's absence is the heart of the tragedy, but the voices around them have become part of the mystery. Each family member reflects a different way of coping, a different way of surviving. Belinda fights with volume, Malehya retreats into quiet, and Daniel provokes with defiance. None of these approaches bring the children home, but all of them shape the way the world continues to search. 3 voices, 3 approaches, 1 haunting mystery. The clash between silence, persistence, and defiance has become part of the case itself. And while these divisions may fuel debate, they also risk obscuring the truth. 2 children are still missing. This is the tragedy at the center of it all. Not the noise, not the silence, not the controversy, but the absence of Lilly and Jack. The real question is not which voice we believe, but how long we will keep remembering their names, how long we will refuse to let them fade into silence. If you believe their memory must endure, then join us here on True Child Cases. Subscribe to this channel, share this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Every view, every comment, every share pushes back against forgetting. It tells the world that Lilly and Jack still matter, that their story is not over, and that silence will never win. 2 children, 1 mystery, a family divided. Do it for Jack, do it for Lilly.